Okay, so today we're going to be doing types of quadrilaterals. So this is sort of just a lot of writing down at the moment, and it's just making sure that you know the key properties of these particular shapes. So to start off with, you need to know what quadrilateral is. So a quadrilateral is a shape that is connected with straight sides and it has four sides. Okay, so for example, a triangle wouldn't be a quadrilateral because it's only got three sides. Okay, so it's really important all these shapes have to have four sides, otherwise it won't be a quadrilateral. So we're starting with a square. Okay, so first thing we need about a square is that most of you will already know is that all the sides are the same. Now the way we show that is we put these little lines through the sides like that. Okay, so that means that all the sides are the same. All sides are the same length. Okay, so that's really important that that's what we remember about a square. Another thing that's really key is that within a square you've got these four angles. Okay, each of these angles is 90 degrees, so we show that by doing the little squares. Okay, so all angles are 90 degrees. Okay, so they're the main two facts that you need to remember. So all the sides are the same and they've all got right angles in. Okay, the next one, which is a rectangle. Now actually a square is technically a rectangle as well, it's just a special one because the sides are the same. So the rectangle is the one you've got two sides that they will be parallel. So these two lines here will be parallel with those two sides there. Same with the square as well, those two sides are parallel to those two sides. We'll talk about that more with the trapezium and the parallelogram. So similar to the square, we'll start with the angles first. They do have right angles in every corner. So all angles are 90 degrees, which is really important to remember. Now with this one, obviously it's not a square, so the sides aren't all going to be the same, but the opposite ones are the same. So this side here is the same as that side there, and this side here is the same as that side there. So what I've done is I've put two lines on those ones, so it just means that those two are the same and then those two are the same. So it has two pairs of same sides. So that just means that pairs of sides, you've got one pair there and one pair there, that they're both the same length. Okay, so now we're getting to the I guess the more unusual ones, but I'm sure you've seen them all before. So the trapezium, the one thing I do need to add on to this are little arrows. Okay, so if you've done parallel lines before, you should have seen these arrows. So it just means that those two lines are parallel to each other, so they won't ever touch. Okay, now I can put parallel lines technically on the rectangles as well. Okay, because those two lines are parallel with each other and those two lines are parallel with each other. Same with the square. So that's the first thing we need to write. So has one pair of parallel lines. The second bit we need to think about are the angles. So if you have done parallel lines before, you should have heard of a rule called co-interior or supplementary, one or the other, and that means that the two angles here, so the two angles on one side of the shape, add up to 180. Okay, so I'll write that in. So if you've learnt parallel lines, it's called co-interior. So angles add to 180 degrees. Okay, and that's a really helpful thing to know, especially because they will always add that into a question. So yeah, so that's all we need to know about a trapezium. I'm going to turn over without dropping it. Okay, so next one is a parallelogram. Now, so many people say, Miss, it's not a parallelogram, it's a rhombus. And I know a lot of people will learn what a rhombus is, but actually a rhombus is a special case of a parallelogram. a bit like our square is special to a parallelogram, not parallelogram, to a rectangle. So we'll start with just a parallelogram first. So similar to the trapezium, it does have parallel sides, but this time it has two sets of parallel sides. So two sets of parallel sides. Okay. Now because of that as well, if we're thinking about the angles now, it's got the similar rule to before with the trapezium, where these two angles here will add up to 180. So add 180. But also the opposite angles are the same. So this angle here is the same as that angle there. And this angle here is the same as this angle here. Okay, so I'm going to write both of those points down. So start with the opposite. So opposite angles are the same. Okay, and then also co-interior. So two angles add to 180. Bit of a fuzzy pen. Okay, so that's two rules that you need to remember. Okay, now the reason why rhombus is a special case, a rhombus is the same as a parallelogram, but the difference is all the sides are the same. So the way I've always remembered it is a parallelogram is just a rectangle pushed over. Okay, so you do have pairs that are the same, so these two will be the same and those two will be the same, but they're not all the same in total. Whereas a rhombus is a pushed over square. Okay, so that means that all the sides will also be the same. So they'll still have all these properties that we've written for a normal parallelogram, but on top of that, all the sides are the same. Okay, these are getting to the more unusual ones now. So first one is a kite. Now, a special thing about the kite is that these two sides are the same, and then also these two sides are the same. So it's got two pairs of same sides. Okay, another thing that's really important, again, we're focusing on the angles. These angles in the corners here, so they would be like the wide bits of your kite, if you imagine it flying, they are also the same. So two angles the same. Okay, this one doesn't have any parallel lines or anything like that. Okay, so these are just focusing on the lengths. Now, I've added in an arrow because they seem to be appearing up a bit more, and actually they're quite easy to remember because it's quite similar to a kite, so I thought I'd add it in anyway just in case you just wanted to know, and you may be lucky and you may see a question like it. So first thing with an arrow, these two sides are the same, okay, and then also these two sides are the same. Okay, now if there will be some exceptions, but at the moment you'll just be focusing on ones that have this sort of look. Sometimes they won't make these two the same, or they won't make these two the same, and the reason the way you can notice it is if these two angles in the corners of the arrow are not the same. Okay, but for now we're just going to be focusing on these ones. So we've got two pairs of same sides. Again, no parallel lines at all. Because the sides are the same, those two angles are the same. Two angles are the same. Now, one special thing about this one, which generally comes up, is this angle here. Okay, this is a reflex angle, so it's an angle that's bigger than 180, and this is the only shape out of all of the quadrilaterals that we've gone through that will have a reflex angle. Okay, angle. Okay, so if you don't remember what a reflex is, it just means an angle that's bigger than 180. Okay, so that's really important that you remember that. So that's all you need to know about all the types of quadrilaterals. I hope that's helped a lot. Good.